Story 1, Baby Steps. When I was addicted to my phone, I began by not taking it to the bathroom. Then I stopped having it during meals. After that, I avoided checking it for the first hour after waking up. Small victories add up. Story 2, Mindfulness is beneficial. Allow your thoughts to be thoughts. Laugh and smile at them a little, but try not to judge them. Thoughts are transient. They will come and go. When you notice that certain thoughts are distressing or compelling, or if you feel the urge to judge or act on a thought, write it down along with the reasons it is affecting you. If you find yourself ruminating, try to engage in physical activities such as stretching or running to help bring yourself back to the present moment. Therapy is highly advised, and sometimes medication can help jumpstart your progress. I am not sure of the specific issue, but these approaches can be beneficial and reinforce one another. It may require effort, but I believe it is helpful. Interestingly, diet can also have an influence. Mental health conditions and addiction can be exacerbated by low levels of iron or vitamin B12, for example. Story 3, You have to trick the devil. Say to yourself, maybe tomorrow, because we all know who the devil is. It's you. Story 4, I am an addiction medicine physician and also in recovery for substance use disorder myself. The concept of physical versus mental addiction is a myth. It is not something we recognize within the science of addiction. What people are usually referring to is dependence versus substance use disorder. Physical dependence is not, in and of itself, pathological. It is better described as a side effect of a treatment. It happens with various medications and is a component of many types of use disorders, which makes treating those disorders much more difficult. The question is more along the lines of how to treat an addiction. In terms of pathology, addiction is addiction. It is a condition that has essentially rewired your brain to consider a substance to be of much more importance than it actually is. This rewiring happens in the midbrain, specifically the amygdala. It is called the lizard brain because, in terms of evolution, it has been around for a long time. It is responsible for various instincts that keep humans, both the individual and the species, alive. The thing about the amygdala is that it does not communicate verbally. You do not hear it say that you need to eat, breathe, or engage in other behaviors. You just want to do those things on a very basic level. The part of your brain that communicates is the frontal cortex. The frontal cortex serves at the pleasure of the midbrain, and that is where the addiction pathology lies. The concept of willpower comes from the frontal cortex, but your amygdala overrides willpower when it starts making decisions that could lead to harm. Try to will yourself to stop eating and drinking water while it is available in front of you. It may work for a while, days even, or a week for food. At some point, however, your will breaks down. Regardless of its strength, your midbrain will assert control over your frontal cortex. The system operates around the reward center of your brain, transforming abstract needs into reinforcement of concrete actions. You need to eat becomes you need to eat a burger. These actions feel good and satisfy the instincts in the amygdala. Your brain reinforces them, so you want to keep engaging in them. That is where addiction emerges. You effectively hijack the reward system, signaling to the amygdala that an important need is being met. The amygdala logs and prioritizes that activity, leading you to want to do it again. Repeating this behavior causes "this feels good" to evolve into "this thing is critical for our survival." Over time, the amygdala elevates its priority. Initially, it aligns with sex, something desirable but not essential. Then it surpasses food, something necessary but you can go without for a short period. Eventually, it ranks alongside breathing. At this point, you are in serious trouble. This is why people cannot will themselves out of an addiction. Individuals in active addiction, if presented with their drug of choice and told to use willpower, will likely succumb regardless of threats or promises. So how do you address this? You need help. If you are genuinely struggling with serious active addiction, overcoming it with willpower alone is nearly impossible. This is a disease that undermines your willpower. You need assistance. What type of help you need depends on various factors, but the general idea is that you must distance yourself from your drug of choice. You need to process your feelings and likely require qualified mental health treatment. Addiction is a disease, and it must be treated as such. Story 5. Undiagnosed obsessive-compulsive disorder is not just about physical quirks. Realizing that obsessing over thoughts and situations is a disorder is important. Recognize it each time it occurs and practice stopping the spiraling while trying to think positively. Continue this practice until it becomes less frequent. It may never completely go away, but working to stop the spiraling can be very helpful. Story 6. The 3-minute rule worked wonders for me. When the urge hits, I tell myself to wait just 3 minutes. Usually by then, I've distracted myself with something else. I have been using this technique for my social media addiction, reducing my usage from 6 hours daily to just 1 hour. Story 7. Mental addiction thrives on reinforcement loops. Identifying triggers, changing routines, and consciously rewiring thought patterns are key to breaking free. Story 8. You have to start with self-forgiveness first. Stop being hard on yourself, set reasonable goals, and most importantly, don't quit. This is crucial because when you slip up or make a mistake, being hard on yourself can lead to discouragement and a higher chance of giving up. If you forgive yourself for your mental struggles, you can concentrate on overcoming them. When you make a mistake, you won't feel as discouraged and will be more likely to persist. Story 9. I believe it helps to make promises to your friends or family. It may be one thing to break a promise to yourself, but you might find yourself stronger in the face of addiction if you fear breaking a promise to a loved one. Story 10. The old saying, if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off, is not meant to be taken literally. For example, if you are addicted to your phone, put it in another room where you can hear it ring, but it is out of your sight. If you are addicted to the internet, turn off the Wi-Fi receiver on your computer when you are using it. Story 11. You just tackle it. There's really nothing else to it. You have to really want it. Pick a date to start, or even better, do it right away and take one day at a time. Find something to keep you occupied if possible. I know it's tough because of the lack of motivation, but I still enjoy reading or watching something, for example. Then just sleep or do whatever you have to in order to get through the first couple of days until you can actually think about something else. At that point, it's time to be strong. Also, realize you will be irritable. Try to avoid interacting with people, or let your loved ones know to support you and have more patience for a while. Story 12. Knowledge. The more you learn about something, the more aware you become of its negative effects, leading to a greater willingness to find ways to move on. The formula is simple. Train to be without it for an hour and gradually increase the duration while rewarding yourself. Story 13. I started writing in a journal whenever I felt the urge. 3 months later, I noticed that I was writing less often because the urges were fading. Sometimes the simplest solutions work best. Story 14. Well, I think it depends on which addiction specifically. For most of them, try going on trips. If one doesn't have enough budget, you can explore different parts of your city with your friends, go to clubs, and have nights out. Just promote physical interaction. I am addicted to pornography and I am trying to get myself out of it. Hopefully, it will work out for you too. Story 15. Hit the gym or try a combat sport. Also, get outside and connect with nature. Aim to keep screen time under 2 hours a day. It makes a significant difference. Communicate more with your parents or friends, as communication is essential. Additionally, consider getting a plant and watering it daily. It helps more than you might think. The last suggestion is the easiest, so please give it a try. Story 16. I feel that when you overcome an addiction, you often find yourself replacing it with another one. It is important to ensure that you substitute it with something positive or at least something better. Story 17. Normally, I indulge in it until I am either finished or tired of it. Alternatively, I constantly try to resist while occasionally giving in to temptation. Story 18. For me, it's all about having a support network of caring individuals around me. I find that mental health issues thrive in isolation. Having someone to talk to helps me stop ruminating on things. If you don't already have a group of people around you, there are plenty of free support groups available online. Story 19. If your caffeine intake is high, consider reducing the amount you consume. For instance, if you are accustomed to drinking Mountain Dew, try switching to Coca-Cola. After that, transition from Coca-Cola to coffee, and finally from coffee to decaffeinated coffee. That's how I overcame my caffeine addiction. Story 20. I try to think about what people did 20 years ago. My addiction is primarily around doom scrolling. Although it has been unsuccessful so far, I have tried to be more social by going out with friends and playing sports, but that still doesn't fill the void. Story 21. Frequently going to the gym is a game changer. Most people never enter that kind of environment to understand the physical and mental effects it has on them. Story 22. The truth is, I tend to overthink. When I feel lost, I turn to gardening, which helps distract me. When I'm tired, I can no longer think clearly. Story 23. Replacement therapy involves taking the harmful behavior you currently engage in and replacing it with a new habit that provides a similar high but is less harmful. Continue this process periodically until you develop an addiction to something that is easier to manage and not destructive. Additionally, seek therapy to understand the underlying reasons for your addiction. Story 24. Master it by facing it head-on. Know that you are more powerful than it. It will be challenging at first, but you should start with one small step. You need to take ownership of the decisions you make. If you truly want to overcome an addiction, it is up to you. No urge or mishap can be an excuse. You need to decide to quit. Story 25. I picked up a new hobby and some new habits to break what I considered an addiction at the time. A change of scenery is also effective in changing your perspective. Story 26. It is great that you recognize there is a problem. That is already a significant step. To address it, try to identify what triggers the addiction, replace it with something positive or engage in physical activity, and talk to someone you trust. Be patient with yourself. Small steps add up. You can do this. Story 27. How do you stop the mental addiction of needing to analyze things and wanting to change what cannot be changed? Story 28. It depends on the underlying root cause of the addiction, but ultimately the only solution I have found effective is replacing it with a new, more productive habit rather than a harmful one. Story 29. Create or change your routine to avoid the addiction. Remind yourself of the addiction and the desired outcome, possibly through a daily affirmation if that helps. Story 30. Dopamine detoxing will show you why you are addicted to something, typically because you are uncomfortable with a particular emotion, feeling, or traumatic memory. By removing all stimuli, you will be left with your thoughts and emotions, which will provide clarity about the root or triggering cause of your need to use. Story 31. Change the environment and eliminate temptation. Do you spend too much time playing online games instead of working? Uninstall Steam. Is your phone a distraction? Leave it in your car. Make decisive choices, move forward, and do not look back. Story 32. I was able to overcome my doom scrolling addiction by completely filling my schedule and not leaving myself time to scroll. This doesn't mean I was working nonstop, as that would be exhausting and honestly terrible. I focused on small tasks like doing the dishes or laundry, planning when to do them, and then tackling those tasks. This made me significantly more productive, and I appreciate my free time much more now. My main reason for doom scrolling was boredom, so finding a hobby or another way to spend my time can also be helpful. Story 33. Approach with an open mind, ready to explore different perspectives and navigate comprehensive options for self-care and governance. It is a continuous process of growth, accompanied by acceptance of failure and setbacks. Story 34. Many people suggest replacing certain behaviors, but I am not the right person to discuss this at the moment. I have my own mental addictions, which are also emotional. These mental and emotional states can be triggered by specific associations I make with various things. The thoughts I connect from certain experiences with others evoke an emotional response that can be quite addictive. While I often form associations in general, I don't have the energy to explore this now. Regarding your concerns, I am uncertain. If someone were to advise me on how to eliminate an emotionally addictive behavior intertwined with mental associations, it would likely be challenging because they cannot truly understand my perspective, and the way I seek emotional highs is quite complex. I wish I could help you. There were times in my past when I wanted to adopt a minimalist lifestyle, selling or donating my belongings, only to regret it later. I even considered becoming a Buddhist monk and exploring Buddhism because I felt overwhelmed by material possessions. However, I have stopped selling things and now buy items without getting rid of what I already have. Making decisions is crucial for me. I hope you can address your mental addiction if it concerns you. I know that certain thought patterns can be frustrating and emotionally overwhelming. How is your life in general? Are there areas where you feel unfulfilled? Sometimes, feeling unfulfilled in one area can lead to coping through mental addictions to fill the void in life. Life undoubtedly presents many ups and downs. Each choice we make can lead us to feel better, worse, or in between. It is important to live in a way that aligns with your desires. Reflecting on my past, I realized that part of my emotional addiction involved doing things I didn't want to do and procrastinating the enjoyable activities until later. Consequently, the fun things didn't feel enjoyable because I was focused on the anticipation. Support from others can be helpful, and I wish you good luck. I personally don't share much about this with those around me. The internet can be a valuable resource for seeking help, but you may struggle to find the right support if people don't understand your mindset. Sometimes, advice resonates, but I've noticed that when I share my struggles in person, others often don't know how to respond or take me seriously. Some of the challenges I discuss may seem trivial to them, but to me, they are significant. Story 35. The same way you tackle one with external substances. It affects the pleasure neurotransmitters, so while you are not taking a drug, you are engaging in something that is similar for your brain. Story 36. Start by identifying triggers and patterns that reinforce addiction, then gradually replace those habits with healthier alternatives. Mindfulness, therapy, and recording steps and progress in a journal can help rewire thought patterns. Exercise and creative activities can provide positive distractions. Try the baby steps approach. Set small, achievable goals and reward yourself for progress. This can maintain motivation. If you feel you cannot handle it alone, do not hesitate to seek professional help or join a support group. This is perfectly acceptable. Having external accountability makes a significant difference. Also, remember that setbacks happen, which is also perfectly acceptable. Progress is about persistence, not perfection. In summary, self-awareness, discipline, and support. Story 37. Practice loving others indiscriminately. When love flows within, the well that forever provides water is established. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.